Hey, welcome
hello.
to the virtual campground live. We are
Not
so
so
glad
live.
you're not so live. That's true. Recorded
Pre-recorded.
live at Cripple Creek, Colorado. We are at the Double Nickel. No, what is Double Eagle? Double Eagles Casino.
Casino, yeah.
They have graciously allowed us to use part of their facility. So I guess there used to be gaming tables in here or something. I don't know, but the casino is just to our left, and we're far enough away that you can't hear the gaming tables and all that sort of fun. But
And why are we here?
we are here. Why are we here? We are here because we have horrible connectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the story of our lives.
Yes, exactly. And we were going to do the show from here tomorrow night.
Yes, we were.
Monday. And we were going to do the show from here tomorrow night and be live.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
But what?
Weather.
What happened?
Weather.
Yeah.
So we are expecting between 7 and 10
It is
inches of
72
snow.
degrees today.
72-degree high today. I mean, it's a beautiful day, except there's
gorgeous.
smoke blowing in from the fires, unfortunately. I hope the snow takes care of that, or at least helps. But so it's a beautiful day today. And then tonight it starts to get cold, of course. And then starting tomorrow, it just continues to drop. 32,
We're going to wake up
28,
at like 40-something degrees. Well,
yeah,
if we wake
30,
up early, we're going to wake up.
yes.
And then it just starts going down. And then
all through the day.
5 to 8 inches of snow. So we love you all very much.
Yeah.
Johnny, Joanne, Teresa, Larry, Jeremy, all of you.
All of you.
We love you, but we want it to be warm.
We're going to be hanging out in our rig with the heaters going. Chatting with you as we speak. So right now, hi
strange.
Johnny, how's it going? yeah.
So we will be very oddly watching ourselves and chatting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we hope you don't mind that we did decide to pre-record. That way too, it actually will get uploaded today and be working. Yes, be working. We hope. But this will be a nice challenge. We'll
right.
a nice test. We'll see, because I mean, we've had some internet connections for those of you that have been watching us know, and so internet connection issues, and so we're hoping that this is something to try. Sometimes doing some recorded stuff, pre-recorded, just to help us all get the information out, but not have all the stress of the internet.
That's right. Yeah. Tell us what you think in the chat.
Yes.
We'll wait.
We will not wait.
Oh,
but we will be on.
We're recording.
To watch.
That's where
yes,
we'll be chatting.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So, but the show is pretty normal from the perspective of we've recorded a really cool interview with Tami and Eric from Techno Rv. They went to Alaska last year. It was an amazing trip, and
Alaska is always one of those places that people that have RVs think about going and dream about going, but they feel a little unsure about it, because I mean it's a long
big trip. Yeah.
And
you've got to commit.
Yes, and it's a pretty rugged still in lots of parts of Alaska. So we wanted to hear from somebody that had done it and hear what they had to say about it, and they offer some great tips and information. So we think it's a great conversation. Hopefully you think so too, and we'll look forward to seeing what you say in the chat.
That's right.
And so the question of the week this week is, have you been to Alaska?
Yes.
So let us know.
If you have been to Alaska, what are the tips? Or if you're researching going to Alaska and you haven't been, but you found some cool tips or cool websites or whatever, then share those with us in the chat.
Yep. And then when Tami and Eric offer their tips, you can deny them or say they're good ones, whatever you want.
That's right.
They're not on.
No,
so
that's right. No, don't contradict Eric and Tami.
Don't contradict them. You can add to what they're saying.
Add to what they're saying.
Yes,
that's right.
absolutely.
Build on
absolutely.
their ideas. That's right.
So.
Okay, so we have Eric and Tami. Before that, though, we have Deborah's news.
Of course. Why not?
Oh, I wasn't ready for that. Hold on. Here we go. Please welcome Deborah for Deborah's news.
All right. So speaking of smoke, which, like we said, right now, today is the first day we've had really smoky haze in this area, and we are about an hour outside of Colorado Springs, so it's definitely the fires from Denver. But sadly, there was some news on Saturday, September 5th, about 150 campers had to be evacuated from a fire in California.
That looks pretty scary.
Yeah, it was around Mammoth Pool Campground. The creek fire, it started moving very quickly, and the only road was blocked by fire, so they had to go in with helicopters and bring these people out. There were some people that were severely injured. Luckily, a lot of them are only moderately injured. But yeah, it's very, very scary and sad. So our hearts go out to any campers, RVers that are out there in the fires. And we hope that they're being as safe as they can.
I think I heard that I may have I didn't hear this completely, but I think I saw where they have actually closed the Rocky Mountain National Park.
The Rocky Mountain National Park again because of smoke.
Because of smoke. Yeah.
Huh. From the California or from Colorado?
No, Colorado fires.
Okay, yeah.
Colorado fires.
Well, and speaking of that, this is in the Big Basin Redwoods State Park, which looks kind of scary because of the redwoods, and we all want to hold on to those redwoods, but they're very durable.
Yeah, they've been through
trees.
A lot of fires.
They've been through a lot of fires, so that's pretty impressive. But they have decided to close the Big Bend Redwoods National Park for the rest of the year due to the fires and some of the damage. They say that it usually gets about 250,000 visitors a year, but obviously they're going to be closing it. And these redwoods, these giant coast redwoods, range from 1,000 to 25,000 years old. Not 25, I'm sorry. I said that wrong. 1,000 to 2,500 years old.
That's
and draw
amazing.
people.
That
Yeah,
fire
no, it is.
in the middle of that tree, that's incredible.
Yeah, so that's the tree I think that you can drive through, or it's one of the trees, but this is also where the tree is that you can drive through. There's also two trees there called the mother of the forest and the father of the forest. They were affected, but they are in generally good health. And again, because these really old trees, they have really thick bark and they're able to withstand these fires. They've been through these fires before. Yep, they absolutely. As the ranger said, these trees will outlive all of us. Thank God. So, also in other news, gas. If you are a diesel burner, apparently there's going to be a jump in the price of the fuel. Blame it on
The
Hurricane
hurricanes.
Laura. Yep, Laura and her pal Tropical Storm Marco.
Anytime there's bad weather in the Gulf, they shut down the refineries.
Exactly. So we are probably going to be seeing a hit, especially in the Midwest, where a gallon of diesel will jump to more than 2 cents per gallon. So
that's not too bad, and it should be short-lived.
Hopefully so. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. So, and also this was interesting. So we've been talking all summer about how lots more RVs being bought, lots more RV parts. It's hard to get service. We have our own story about that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yes, we do.
But the RV Industry Association did a survey of manufacturers and found that the RV shipments ended July with an increase of 53.5%.
That's amazing.
Shipped out in July. Isn't that crazy?
I'm sure quality has gone up as well.
I'm sure they're being very careful. So, but speaking of RVs, I thought this was fascinating.
That is amazing.
This is an RV. I mean, so this is in our pursuit of always finding you fun little RVs, our big RVs.
That's incredible.
This is it's dubbed the Commander 8x8. It's a military grade truck base. The family that bought this, which is probably cost over $1 million in US, they're in Australia. They wanted to go out to the outback of Australia, and so you have to be really prepared when you go out there.
Prepared for warfare. It looks like.
Exactly. It is kind of has that Mad Max kind of look to it, doesn't it? It has a 6.5-foot roof lift activated by a push of a button. It goes from 1 story to 2 stories.
That's crazy.
It has electrical system that also has solar, because of course they're out there in the boonies. They have 265 gallons of water.
Wow.
Crazy,
That's
right?
a boondocking paradise.
It
That's
has
great.
5 inches of insulation. It's 5 inches thick to have better insulation, because of course it's pretty warm out there in the outback. So yeah, and then the bedroom upstairs. So upstairs you go up those little floating stairs.
Military
I know
barracks.
it does.
A really nice military. barracks.
Yeah, and then those beds flip up, so there's storage underneath them for their clothes. But yeah, it's like 6 beds. They have a television down there, so that they can travel around and see. And they obviously are out there in the middle of the COVID situation, so they've been really boondocking to the extreme.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a rig.
Isn't that crazy? So yes.
So this is our next one?
Only I guess if we're in Australia and you find $1 million. So yeah, they this company builds these kind of things. It's crazy. Yeah. So, and I've seen some 2-stories, but usually they're the movie stars have them.
Yeah, they just park them
and they're parked,
at the movie
exactly.
set.
But these people are moving around.
That's great.
I don't know the gas on it.
No, yeah.
So
1 mile to the gallon.
Yes, exactly. And then this, where would you think? Where do you think this might be?
Well, I can't answer that because
you know the answer. Okay, those in you in chat.
Yes.
Tell me where you think this might be.
No, Jeremy, it's not Wyoming.
That would be Larry.
Oh, that's right. That's right. No, Larry, it's not Wyoming.
Jeremy actually probably knows.
Yeah, Jeremy
because he's probably been there.
That's
He's
right.
a big Florida guy. This is Jenny Springs in northern Florida. So this park has become hugely popular. It just opened recently, and it is hugely popular. And you know why it's so popular?
Well, I assume
because it's gorgeous.
Instagrammers
obviously.
love
Instagram, exactly. Yeah. It has really gotten some Instagram fame because of the clear waters and jungle-like flora. So it is expected to be the RV hotspot of certainly this year and years to come. So it opened on May 1st. The demand was so high that they had to start turning people away. But it is a camping site. It's just northwest of Gainesville, Florida. Has 7 natural springs. And it is, as you can see, gorgeous. The springs stay at about 72 degrees year-round. And the price of the camping is really pretty inexpensive. It was only like $22. Yeah. I imagine it'll go up. And then it has, to get access to the springs is $14 a day. And if you want to dive, it's $22 a day. They do have campsites that are RV friendly and spread out over 200 acres with hookups.
That's pretty amazing.
Yep,
that's
gorgeous,
a beautiful place.
Yes, it is. So there you go.
Can't imagine
we
how
showed
typical.
you a very tropical site, and then we're going to talk to you about Alaska.
That's right. Exactly.
But I had never seen that, and I wanted to share it. And so I'm sure you can go to Instagram #Jenny Springs and see tons more.
That's right. Yeah, it's the downside of Instagram. Also, the upside is you get to discover new places, and so.
But then they become really popular, and you can't get into them.
Yeah.
So, that was my news.
Yes, good job.
Thank you.
All right, so we have Eric and Tami next. Eric and Tami are dear friends and wonderful people, and they owned a company called Techno Rv.
Which we've had them on before.
Yes, we had them on there. Our second time guest.
Returning guests.
Returning guests. Oh, returning guests?
That's what you call them.
I'm not familiar with the lingo of show business, so I'm just getting up to speed on this. So anyway, wonderful, dear people. We are going to play. Anything else to say to announce them? No? All right.
Looking forward to talking to them.
Here's Eric and Tami.
Hi.
Hey, Eric and Tami.
Hi,
welcome
guys.
to the virtual campground.
Hey, we're back.
We're back. That's right.
And are you in Alabama still?
Yes.
Yes,
we are
since March.
Wow.
Yeah, year started off on fire. Like we were traveling and doing a lot, and then it just kind of
went downhill from there.
But
you had to buy a boat.
You had to buy a boat, and you're looking pretty tan, so I can tell you've been out on a boat.
Yeah, I mean, 94 degrees outside right now, so, clear skies. You can't.
We never intended to be back in Alabama in the summertime.
Ever.
So this year kind of forced us into submission to do so. And I don't know, the humidity, the heat, we're kind of getting back used to it a little bit. So,
but not so much that we're staying much
longer.
No.
And the boat helps.
I like that.
The boat does help. It does.
Yeah.
The boat helps. So
we're
and we'll probably be here for a bit longer, but we've been able to get a lot done at the office. That's where our office is, and hired a few more employees, done some remodeling in the office. Wow. So it's been a productive year.
It has been productive.
Excellent.
Hot and productive.
Okay, well,
nice.
we're going to take you back, though.
Let's talk about something cold.
Yeah, cold.
Relatively speaking.
Last year's summer.
So when did y'all actually go to Alaska?
Last summer, 2019, we went from mid-May, we left Mobile and got back Labor Day weekend. Actually, this weekend is when we came out.
Long time.
And we were in Washington Labor Day weekend last year.
We made a beeline. We pushed our our start date out because we were meeting some people in Canada around May 28th, somewhere around that. And so we didn't leave till like May 15th,
Yeah, we went.
Whatever it was, we were getting it. We were not stopping to smell the roses. And but things slowed up once we got to kind of the Montana area. We were able to slow up a little bit, and then on into Canada.
So pretty much all of last summer we were there.
Okay, so
That's awesome.
you really gave it the full. Like I'd heard somewhere that it was good to give it at least 6 weeks. So it sounds like you gave it even more. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we wanted to, because we didn't think we would ever, well, we didn't know if we would ever go back. Now that we've been, we will go back now. And that was our thought process. What's the most we can do? And we were hindered by the Hershey show that's mid-September. So that forced us to come out earlier than probably we would have liked, because you can see the Northern Lights the later the year gets. But we were kind of locked into some dates that, but we took every day up until we had to leave. So
yeah, imagine booking the Hershey show on the other side of the United States,
Yes.
having to come out and drive all the way across.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember when you were doing that. You were covering some miles.
Yes.
And just for those that aren't familiar, you're with Techno Rv, and the Hershey show you're referring to is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, RV shows. And you all have a booth there, and you sell your products there, and it's a pretty
We do.
big
Had to
show
be
for
there.
you.
It wasn't like you could no show it. You have to
Right.
be there. Yeah.
no, it has to be there.
Yeah, you don't lose your booth at that show.
No,
you
do
might not get it back.
You might not ever get it back.
Wow.
So did you leave then from Montana to get up into Canada, get to Alaska? What was the route?
We went, my brother lives in Montana, and we went through the Sweetgrass entrance, which is Great Falls Sweetgrass entrance, because that took us through Jasper and Banff National Park, which was what we wanted to do on our way up there. We didn't give that near enough time. We just thought we would zip through it, and hindsight, we should have given Canada probably more time, entry and exit, because both Canada was phenomenal. It was absolutely gorgeous. So we went up through Banff and Jasper, and then Kate went over to Toke.
Yeah, so when you're kind of planning your trip.
Can you tell I don't drive? I can't tell you any road names.
No,
that road.
Obviously, you got to figure out where you're going to enter at. And we just kind of, we did a lot of research, and the Sweetgrass area seemed to be a very popular place to enter. There's a few things that prior to the trip that you gotta figure out. So if y'all don't mind, I'll kind of jump into that. There's one thing for sure, and then another thing for some people. One is just protecting your vehicle. I know that we spent a lot of time kind of reading horror stories about, you're going to go and your vehicle's going to be damaged, and you're going to blow out your windshield because all the rocks. And
we're in a 40-foot motorhome, so we were we actually considered not taking it. But.
Yeah, so we were like, no, we're going to take the motorhome. We're going to tow the Jeep. And so I just kind of reserved to the fact that I was probably going to have a bunch of dings on my windshield, and I would have to replace it. That's what everybody kind of tells you. And then the tow vehicle, they say that can get kind of messed up. So I decided I used one of those Blue Ox like rock deflectors. It's almost just like a mat that goes between over your tow bars. It's not one of the big plastic ones that covers your front grille. And that's all I used. And then on the front of my Jeep, I do have what's called a clear bra, and it's basically an installed like clear 3M type material that if it takes a ding, it kind of absorbs the rocks. Man, we did really good. We took one rock ding the entire time on the front windshield that we were able to.
Of the motorhome.
On the motorhome. We brought a rock chip kit, and I was able to kind of deal with that on the road so it didn't spread. The Jeep really didn't take any damage. There was some damage on the back of the RV where I guess rocks were kicking up and coming back and hitting the back, so we did have some paint chips like that. I suspect we got pretty lucky because there were definitely some roads that there were some big trucks flying by, and you would just almost close your eyes and just hope it didn't happen.
But to Eric's, I do think we got lucky, but also because he'd read so much, we were in no hurry on the road. If it meant he had to pull over some to let an 18-wheeler pass by, we would see people pulling towables or fifth wheels going way faster than what Eric was willing to go. So part of the reason I think we didn't take a lot of damage was you were extremely cautious driving. Like, oh well, if it takes us longer, oh well, and you were just very cautious.
Well, I think if you're pulling a towable, you can't feel the impact that it's taken. You're in your big plush truck, and it tends to take rough roads pretty well. Meanwhile, your trailer's back there bouncing around, and you really don't think about that. And I would see people, I mean, they'd be doing 60 miles an hour when they should probably be doing 30, and you could just see their trailer just taking a beating. So, so anyway, protecting your vehicle. And then the other thing is that for those that want to take guns into Alaska, you got to make sure you kind of make that decision before you go in. I don't know all the rules behind that as far as into Canada, they say you can take some rifles and things like that. I didn't do that, but
I would look up the current year's rules.
Yeah, there are some places in Great Falls, which is right there around Sweetgrass, where you can like give them a handgun. They ship it,
I've heard.
And then when you come into Tok, Alaska, there's a little shack on the side of the road,
literally
basically, and that's where you pull over and pick it up. So. For those that want to do that, you kind of got to decide that. And I think the place that we used was Alaska Gun Shipping or something like that. So it's a good website to go to, but I did write it down. It is alaskagunshipping.com. Yeah. So for those that would like to take a firearm, it's a good website to go to.
Okay.
And so anyway, that's our next tip of the day.
Excellent. And of course, when you go across at Sweetgrass, you have to show your passport. Is there anything you have to show regarding the rig?
We had, and you end up going in and out of several border crossings. Strictly, you go into Alaska, and then some people even come out, go back into Alaska. It was different almost every time what people were asking for. There was no consistency. Of course, the passport every time they asked for, but sometimes they asked for the receipt for the gun that we had shipped, because they asked if we had guns. He told them we shipped them, and they said, "Can I see the receipt?" Sometimes they were asking for lists of fruits and vegetables you had on board. They would look at your tag, I guess, from
know your tag number.
Yes, that's what it was. I knew they asked us something. It was the tag.
Yeah, we never knew it. We went back and forth a few times. Like, why don't we just memorize that?
But they didn't ask for near what I thought they were going to, but we had it already. You know, it was like, have it, except for the tag, have it already, whether it's your registration and all that type of stuff, because it's random. It's really not like they're all following the same steps.
Yeah.
Yes. So you kind of have to be ready for, anything. I think with pets, we didn't have a pet with us, but you're supposed to have pet papers and that they've had their shots and all kind of stuff like that. So
yeah, we went into it sort of over prepared, I guess, when we came up to the border crossings. But with that said, then there's those people that pull in and they make them pull over and they get boarded and all that. And we just didn't experience that. I suspect that would have been a little uncomfortable.
Ooh, yeah.
But we just, our crossings were very simple, I would say. Yeah.
It's weird though. The first time we did it, it's like you feel like they know everything you did since like 6th grade, and you're just like, what do they know about me?
You're always like, oh, do I have a warrant out for my arrest? I don't know about it.
When you say, what do I have in the freezer? What are you talking about?
That's right. Have you already seen my freezer?
You're right. You're like guilty. You're just pulling up there.
Yeah,
it is.
Feel it. Yeah, exactly.
I would think it pays to be better prepared for those border crossings, just because you don't want to be the one pull over here, let's take a look. And you never know. I mean, if they find those oranges that you weren't supposed to bring over or whatever.
Yes, I wrote my fruit and vegetables down. So in case they asked me, I didn't sound like I was trying to make something up. I'm like, look, this is what I got. What do you want? I just made it easier. I'm like, I don't know. Here, what do you got?
Right.
Did you ever have any fruit confiscated? Or they just
there was a time where they asked me if I had any bell peppers, and I said yes, but they said fresh or frozen, and I'm like, I had heard if you freeze them that they're no longer in. So any fresh fruit or vegetable that I could freeze, I would just chop it, dice it, and freeze it before the border crossing. Because frozen, they were like, oh, if it's frozen, you're good. And I'm like, well, that's easy.
But
Don't listen to Tami. Check the paperwork. Okay.
Yeah. Make
Yeah,
sure.
saying Tami told me so at the border is probably not
Yeah, but Tami said,
Tami who? Yeah.
"Why am I being arrested?" Tami said.
So how far in advance did y'all start planning your trip?
I would say December, January time. I think that's when we made the decision that it was going to be our 50th state was going to be Alaska. So probably November, December the previous year.
Now, keep in mind, Tami and I are not big planners, okay? And so we did travel with another couple through Alaska, and they are very big planners.
Oh, that's
Very.
And so we were just kind of along for the ride, you know what I mean? I mean, they had stuff laid out that,
To an
like,
extent,
yeah, I mean, it would be like, oh, in this area we can do this, 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 and this, and then we could just kind of pick and choose. It was like we were on like our own like caravan type thing where you have choices to do things, and
nice.
but it was kind of our own private thing. So that was real helpful. It took a little bit of the stress off.
Yes.
It allowed us to probably do more things than maybe we would have even found to do because they did a lot of researching of things. So,
but I would say a good 5-6 months. I know a lot of people take longer, but again, we don't plan too far in advance.
And
so.
I mean, from the perspective of you started thinking about it 5 or 6 months in advance, and you made sure to connect up with people that were better planners than you. So that was good. That's a good
smart.
tip.
Yeah.
And I'm sure y'all started doing some of your own reading and research, but were there certain things like, did you start booking campgrounds? Were there certain things that you knew you wanted to do before you hit the border?
There were only a handful of parks that were booked ahead of time, knowing 4th of July and the one when we were in Denali. If it were something we wanted to be very specific about, but we knew enough to know national parks, you should just be aware if you're going to go stay. Fairbanks, the Midnight Sun is a big deal there. They have a big run and a baseball game. And so we made reservations to make sure we were there for the 20th and 21st. So anything like that, if it was a specific, otherwise we did not, what our traveling planner did was say, if we're going to Homer, here's 3 campgrounds, here's their contact information. So when we were kind of on the way or the few days before, we kind of knew what our choices were and we weren't just looking for something. But yeah, if it was something specific like 4th of July or we want to be there for the park at that time, we would book.
And so a lot of folks, or some of the stuff I had read was that a lot of folks don't make reservations at campgrounds, and that often they don't even stay in campgrounds. So did y'all do a lot of boondocking?
We actually didn't, partly because our travel companions were not as suited for it. The motorhome's a little bit harder, or at least it makes us a little bit more nervous to just guess in an area we've never been in. So we did do sometimes where you're just pulled over on the side of the road or a provincial park or something like that, but not what I would consider what you see some people just out in the middle of the wilderness. No, we did take the Jeep up the Dalton Highway for a few days, just the Jeep and a tent, so we did have the availability to get off road and be more comfortable with the Jeep, but we didn't take the motorhome really off anywhere crazy.
So when you go into Alaska is like just a big circle, right? So when you go in, you got to decide, am I going to do this counterclockwise or clockwise? I mean, that's kind of the first decision you got to make. And we ended up going counterclockwise. So we went up to Fairbanks.
To hit Fairbanks during the midnight sun.
Right, exactly. So, and then from there, from Fairbanks, if you're going to do the Dalton Highway up to the Arctic Ocean, then that's the time to do that. So that's when we did the Dalton Highway and came.
Which was very cool because it was also the time of the midnight sun, and the sun really never went down because we were up at the Arctic Circle and it was just daylight the whole time, except at night it's this really, really cool gold glow. It was I'm happy we went during that time of the summer because the light was incredible on the trip to the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah, it was. The other thing when you're coming into Alaska, another sort of decision you have to make is there's a little town called Chicken, Alaska, and it's a really small place. The population's got to be like 30. I don't know. It's like nothing. And but it's kind of a little tourist place that people are like, oh, did you go to Chicken, Alaska? And so when you're in Canada, you can go up what's called the Top of the World Highway, and I heard that those roads are bit rough. We opted out of that, but that basically brings you over the top of Chicken and then through Chicken. Or you can come, what we did is we came into Toke and then took a day trip up to Chicken and came back down.
Okay.
So it's kind of a decision that a lot of people going into Alaska have to make. Are we going to go to Chicken or not? I think most people probably don't.
And why?
But we did.
Why should you go to Chicken?
Just because it's there.
You can say you went to Chicken. No, there is a gold camp there. It was a gold. There's a gold mine there. Remember? Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, it's amazing that there's this tiny little bar there, and you can,
It's a pretty.
You're only going to Alaska once, possibly.
It's kind of it's a pretty. There's a lot of good landscape and scenery on the way up there. I mean, we basically went up there, took a few pictures, drank a beer at the bar, did a little shopping at their little gift shop, and then we did tour that little gold mine thing, and then we pretty much came back.
Something that was really helpful, which helped us make the decision to not do the top of the world, was a Facebook group called RVing to Alaska 2019. And it's they have one for every year because it's by, my brain just, Stacy and Gary Quimby. They run it because they've been to Alaska a gazillion times. And if you're going that year, like we joined it months before we ever went, and the people that were going earlier, you can kind of, hey, how are the roads to the top of the world today? Oh, they're doing, construction work to Valdez. Be careful. So you kind of can keep up with the roads and campgrounds and attractions and weather and all kind of stuff from people that have either just come out of Alaska or are in that town. So that was ridiculously helpful because you could almost just get real time people that are in there at the time. And that's when we kind of would make the decision, hey, how are the roads to the Dalton? Has anyone done the Dalton lately? How was it? And you kind of get that help, from the group, which was very helpful.
And what was that Facebook group again?
RVing to Alaska. And then there's a separate group for each year. So RVing for Alaska 2020. But if you think you want to go even the next year, or you just want to see what it's like, you can join it just to see what the conversations and what people are dealing with, because they'll share pictures of roads and stuff like that.
That's great.
I do want to make one more comment about, because we're already into Alaska now. We kind of blew right past Canada.
Which is what we did on the trip too.
I want to say one thing about Canada.
And we shouldn't have.
Banff and Jasper National Park are must-dos. The road in between those two is called the Fields Parkway. Incredible. You will not see better scenery your entire trip, even through Alaska. You may see some things that are
for such an extended amount of time. Yes.
It is the absolutely most beautiful road I've probably ever driven to date is the Fields Parkway. I would probably take my time and do it in 2 days instead of the one that we did it, just to stop and just be in awe of it all. And I would probably also try to spend a little bit more time in Canada, just because Canada's awesome. I mean, just the views, and we saw more grizzly bears
and black bears
in Canada than we ever saw in Alaska.
Oh, no doubt. They're just on the side of the road. There's a lot more wildlife in Canada.
Hey, just keeping track here. We're down to Tami has 4 tips. Eric has 3. So just want to.
It's the way it always is. This is my life.
But you know what? Going back to the planning, something that our friend did that, looking back in hindsight, was super helpful, and I wouldn't even have realized it if it hadn't happened. But because she looked at where we were stopping, we knew which cities had better grocery stores, when to make sure we did load up on groceries, because we're not going to have them a good place for another 2 weeks. So some of that research, it just happened naturally because she had done it, but it was super helpful to know, hey, we're going in this, we're not going to see another regular grocery store for another few days, or this is the last time that we're going to see this. So that research was super helpful, even though I didn't do it myself. It was nice to kind of know the limitations of where you're going to be. How far away from everything are you going to be?
Another consideration for clockwise or counterclockwise is the salmon run. If you're interested in fishing, you need to stay in touch and in tune with like where the salmon are at different points of the summer. So I mean, if you go down too early, then they're not there yet. And if you go too late, I mean, obviously you missed them too. So if fishing is on the agenda and that's something you really want to do a lot of in Alaska, then you need to make sure that you plan accordingly on where the fish are.
Okay, well, let's go back to the grocery store for a minute. So I'm just curious.
Because that's where we get our salmon.
I am mostly not curious about that, though. I am curious, I assume up in Alaska, the cost of food is much higher than down here in the lower 48. Would you say so?
I mean, I remember it being certain places, the fuel, but I don't remember it being just like, oh my gosh,
okay.
I mean, but I love to grocery shop, and I'm not, it's not a place where I strive to save as much money as I do in some other parts of my life.
Yep.
So when you could get a store, I just got what I got from
right.
the store, and I wasn't stressing about, I could get this cheaper, so-and-so.
Yeah.
No, I'm here. It's there in front of me. I'm getting it.
But the big cities like Fairbanks, Anchorage, things like that, I mean, that's where you're going to have your Costco's and things like that, where you could stock up on some stuff. But yeah, some of the smaller little towns, you don't know what you're going to get, like Homer and Valdez and places like that. You just get what you get, really.
Yep. So don't go. Yeah, you have to plan your meals around what you can find.
That's right.
Yes.
But that's sometimes fun because then you could eat more local. And, if when we were in Alabama, there was some weird sausage thing. What was that?
Kaneka.
Yeah.
Kaneka
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call it weird.
Yeah.
Which was quite tasty.
Yeah, it was quite tasty.
Okay, so speaking of, you talked about the Facebook, and I know you guys work all the time. So how was internet up there?
I would say we only had maybe 2 situations where we had nothing available, and one was going on the Dalton to the Arctic Ocean, and you just know there's going to be 2 or 3 days. We took 3 days and we didn't have it. And then, we had it some at Coldfoot, but mainly didn't have it. And then when we came out the Cassiar Highway, and we didn't have it for 500, 400, 500 miles. But other than that, we have AT&T and Verizon. We had availability of it. I wouldn't say we were streaming everywhere we were, but I don't remember any other time that we were just completely without it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a campground in Toke that we were in right when we came in, and that was our first experience, and it was not great. And then so we were like, man, is this the way it's going to be? But it really wasn't. It was kind of fine throughout Alaska. And if somebody's working from the road, they just can't afford to be without for 3 or 4 days. Then you just don't take the Cassiar Highway.
And don't go to the Dalton Highway.
And you don't go to the Arctic Ocean, But we just signed off and let our office know we wouldn't be available.
Well, we scheduled both of those for the weekends, is what we did.
And some of it was on the weekends.
And made sure we did those on weekends.
Yeah.
So the Cassiar Highway and the Alaska Highway are 2 different highways, right? Is there a...
Yes.
Cassiar's coming out right when you come out of Alaska.
Yeah.
To come down through Canada.
Yeah.
I need my map in front of me, Deborah. I'm not geographically challenged.
Yeah, Alaska Highway is the whole mile zero thing where you take your picture and everything. And that actually, I always thought that was in Alaska, but it's actually at the mile zero of the Alaska Highway is actually in Canada. So I'm like, okay, that's weird.
Okay.
But,
the Alaskan Highway starts in Canada.
Yeah.
That
kind of makes sense. Yeah. You have to get there somehow. Yes. Okay, so then what are the top places that y'all say if you had to pick 3? What are the don't miss places?
Back. Where are you going to have to go back?
Okay, so here's the thing.
I don't know if ours are going to match.
People do Alaska all different kinds of ways. We decided we were not going to spare any expense. We decided this is a trip of a lifetime. We had sort of saved up for it, and we did a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a lot. So if we're going to do 3, I'm going to say probably my number 1 is Katmai National Park.
That would be mine too. So
we flew out of Homer, Alaska to Katmai National Park, and there's grizzly bears everywhere.
It's the ones where they're catching fish.
The
stream, and they're just standing there catching fish. And you're on a platform, and at one point we're 6, 7 feet from a bear right there, ripping open a salmon. I mean, it's bizarro. You have to remind yourself that you're in the wild because you feel like it's something different. It's very, very, very cool.
And you come in on a
Scary,
float.
but cool.
You come in on a float plane. You're flying over like a volcano and
glacier. It's so pretty.
Glaciers, and
wow.
then you land on the water. And there were literally grizzly bears on the beach that we pulled up to.
Wow. Crazy.
It was Katmai National Park.
Brooks Camp.
Spectacular. And I don't know, how much did that cost? If we're getting right down
I want to say it might have been $600 or $700 a person for the plane, and that got you in the national park camp and everything. So it was probably $1,400 for both of us.
Yeah, but if you're going to do Katmai, it's the only way to do it.
You can't get to Katmai National Park any other way, or Lake Clark National Park.
Yeah.
So both of those you can see bears, but you're going to have to go by plane.
All right, I'll give you one.
We did jet skiing. That was very fun. We did, and that was something that was not on the plan. We just found out. We jet skied because there's so many ways to see glaciers. We kayaked to glaciers. We hiked on a glacier, but we found out you could jet ski, which from, the Gulf Coast, jet skis, that's up our alley.
That's our machine.
And you literally went 30 miles on a jet ski out of Whittier and went into this
Blackstone, is it
Blackstone Bay? So it's a 60-mile round trip. You're going like 50 miles an hour on these jet skis. It was crazy, but
you pull right up to the
cool.
glaciers.
Right, because you're on the jet ski and you can get away from the glaciers quick enough, you could go closer to them. If you're in the kayak, they won't let you, because if it calved, you could get you could get affected by it, or even boats don't necessarily. But the jet ski, you could get it off of it so quickly. They'd let you go pretty close to them. I mean, the waterfall was right behind us. They were.
It was
our closest interaction, on a tour.
But that's if somebody's going to Alaska. It's in Whittier. There's only one company that does it. I forget the name of it, but just look up Whittier jet skiing and you'll find it. And it is a spectacular trip.
It is.
That sounds
number two for me.
Hang on. Cold? Jet skiing, was it cold?
You wear a dry suit.
Okay.
So, yes, it would have been pretty much all last summer. We were in long pants for any of those type events. It was cold, unless you were,
Yeah, and we actually we wore dry suits on when we
whitewater rafted down one too.
And that was just getting. In fact, at that point, we pulled over, got on a glacier, and jumped into the water from the glacier.
Oh my gosh!
In the dry suits, and it's a bit shocking, but you still say you're dry, so that helps.
What was your number two?
Yeah.
Number two for me is we flew to Juneau.
Yeah.
And from Juneau,
and we had to fly because the ferry systems were on strike last summer, and you couldn't ferry to the interior passage.
Okay.
Little places.
But I don't know how I would feel about putting my motorhome on a ferry anyway.
Well, you couldn't have anyway, so.
So we flew there, and then from Juneau, we took a helicopter, landed on a glacier where a dog sledding team was waiting for us, and we dog sledded around a glacier. I'm telling you, it was just a trip of a lifetime. It was we go back and look at pictures and can't hardly believe the stuff that we did, but that experience right there.
And I found that on a cruise ship site. Yeah, it was basically one of their little things for the excursions. That's the word. Yes.
We were gonna. That was gonna be one of our excursions.
We did
but we got
Alaska
fogged
cruise.
out.
Yeah, but it got canceled because of the fog.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny, coming out of that day, there were mountains and ridges we had to get over to come back and land the helicopter, and we kept going up this ridge of this mountain, and then the helicopter pilot would kind of just hover for a little while and then go back down, and it was super foggy, and he did it 3 times, and he eventually was like, okay, good. And Eric was like, what's going on? And he's like, well, if I couldn't have gotten above this last ridge, we'd have had to go back and stay on the glacier overnight with the dogs. And we were like, oh, okay. But it was fog on the mountain, and it was kind of sketchy.
Wow.
But I'll send you some pictures, Barry. No need in you doing it. You can just look at me doing it.
Excellent. Yeah.
We promised our sons we'd take them back and do that one, at least that one thing.
Maybe 40 and 50 years
yeah,
old,
exactly. But yeah. All right, you're number 3.
This one did not really cost anything, but it was a neat experience. I like to go to all the national parks, and one of the ones, Wrangell St. Elias, is the largest national park in the United States, and you can get to it by driving into it. We took the Jeep, it's not a bad road. I think any car could go through it, but you get way back into the wilderness. And then there's just this copper. It was copper, Kennecott copper mining city. And that's where we hiked on the glacier. That's where we whitewater rafted in the glacier water. They have a little town called McCarthy that's kind of like the rougher part of the little area. And the mine was up there. It was just Wrangell St. Elias was a really cool park because it is so remote that it doesn't feel like you're in a national park at all because it's
McCarthy's like a little saloon town. It's I would do that again, even though it's just there's nothing really super spectacular other than you just feel like you're in this another world. You know,
well, you are overlooking that huge glacier. I mean, it was pretty intense, the scenery. We had gotten, I don't want to say numb to it, but that was the last park we went to, and you almost just get to where you're like, this is just my life now, glaciers everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah, after 3 months, I think you would think, there's just glaciers.
It took a lot. Yeah, it took a lot to surprise us at the end, and that one was beautiful. We did like it.
And did you have a different third one, Eric?
So I almost came in third place at a fishing tournament in Valdez.
Oh my gosh.
But I didn't buy a fishing derby ticket.
And everybody tells you to. Like everybody before you
go.
So
everybody's like, buy a derby ticket. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing. There's no way I'm going to catch a fish bigger to enter this because it's an all summer tournament, right?
Oh wow.
So we rented a boat out of Valdez and we went way out. And we started using downriggers to troll for silver salmon. Well, I hooked into one that was big. And got them on the boat, and it was at the end of the day, we come back in, and they have these fish cleaning stations. And the guy at the fish cleaning station said, "Have you weighed this? This thing's huge." And I was like, "No." He said, "Well, you need to have it weighed."
Well, first he said, "You did buy a ticket, right?"
And so I said, "Well, this thing isn't any bigger than a redfish in Alabama." So I figured I didn't know this would win something. And so he said, "Take it to the scales anyway." So we took it over there. They weighed it. That day, for the day, it was first place.
Wow.
For the tournament, it was third place,
which is a $1,500 prize.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
And how much derby ticket have cost?
I think it's like $10.
Oh my gosh!
But hey, I got the picture of me holding it.
Yeah.
And so
that's worth
in front of the derby sign.
They let him do the picture and put the tag on it like he entered it and everything. But
So I sent it to all my friends, and I forget what I told them, but it might have been different than what I just told you.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. That's great. All right, so let's see. Oh, didn't y'all make it? You said you came out before you got to see the Northern Lights, so you didn't get to see them?
No, we did not. I believe you need to go back up towards Fort Fairbanks in the late August, early September timeframe, which could affect whether you choose to go in and do it clockwise, or you could just go straight back up. But we did not. That will be for another day in Alaska.
Yeah, when we came out, we came in at Toke, did the loop, and then we finished up at Toke. So that would have been the time right there. We just didn't have time. We were done. We had to get back, but that would have been the time because Fairbanks is just kind of right there. But no, we didn't do it.
We did not.
So my geography is horrible. So Fairbanks, it sounds like from what you're saying, is kind of at the bottom of Alaska.
Hey, Fairbanks is the most northern established big city, I guess. From there, you can go up to the Arctic Ocean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's actually the most northern. It's kind of near Denali, so that's a popular little. The ones down south are Seward, Valdez, the Homer, the Kenai Peninsula, and all that type stuff.
And when you're choosing the counter and the clockwise, I can't
counterclockwise or clockwise.
Counterclockwise. Is there a particular highway that's taking you around this loop?
What's it called? I don't know.
Okay, but there's a highway.
Yes, it's the main.
It is
it's
a main
loop.
road.
It's a big loop.
Okay.
And there's cutovers and little things you can do. You just have to. The Facebook group's good for that because some of them are in really bad shape. There are all these things called frost heaves, which are basically these big either bumps or dips in the road, and they usually have a marked. You really got to drive super careful in Alaska, and don't ever get relaxed with that because they can sneak up on you.
And vault you right up out of your seat.
I was always like on it, like slow up, see them, go over them real slow. But I would say probably 2 times I got a little bit relaxed, and next thing you know, you're like, oh man, this is not going to be
There goes
good.
the front suspension.
And you kind of hit, and it's you really got to watch it. You can damage an RV pretty bad if you don't.
But our trip, it's really interesting because even the friends we went with, their likes were different than ours. Things they wanted to do and things that interested them were very different than ours. We had some similarities in national parks and this and that, but Eric and I are water people. We wanted to go down where the water. We wanted to fish and be on boats and all that, kayak and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't really their thing. They're just not as big water people. She wanted to do probably more of the historical tours and the mines and stuff like that. That's interesting, whereas that's probably not something we would do more than once just to say we learned about it. So it depends on what you like to do and what your interests are. There's all kinds of different ways to enjoy Alaska, and stick with what you like. I was not going to force myself to go to some museum that didn't interest me just because I was in Alaska. Yeah. I gravitated to things that sounded interesting to us. So, right. You gotta have to think about that. Because we had people, you got to do this. And I'm like, I would never choose. That just doesn't interest me. Right. So I may have missed out in their mind, but in my mind, I had a great trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Well, and it sounds like Alaska has a lot to offer everybody. There's history, lots of history, and there's obviously a lot of outdoors and wildlife and all the exciting things. Yes, it's a big place. It is a big place. It is. All right. Well, what did we forget to ask you that you might think, somebody planning a trip to Alaska should remember this?
We did go to Glacier Bay National Park. How many national parks are there? Is there?
If you wouldn't have asked me, we missed 2.
But Glacier Bay was good.
That was interesting to me. You only hear about Denali. Go to Denali, all that. And there are a lot of national parks there that are accessible. A lot of them are not. You're going to have to plane, but there are some that are. Kenai Fjords National Park was really, really cool. That's where we kayaked them. Got into Wrangell St. Elias. There was Glacier Bay National Park. There, so just there are a lot of them. And Denali actually, to me, was the least enjoyable one of all of them to us because you can't get in there in your car. You have to ride a bus with everybody, and that was our first experience. And I was like, I don't love this. So to me, it wasn't even our favorite park.
Mm-hmm. And was it crowded as you're traveling around Alaska? Like Denali, I assume it was, but otherwise, did you ever feel crowded? like were the campgrounds crowded?
No.
I mean, some campgrounds. Now, I will say this about campgrounds, which Eric and I are pretty laid back, and I don't get stressed about things not being exactly how I want them, but there are a lot of campgrounds that are just parking lots. That's what they are. They're just parking lots. It doesn't matter what name on the end, whether it says resort or what, I don't care what it says. A lot of them are just parking lots. So Google Maps came in handy, like satellite views of stuff. It was fine, but just knowing, I wouldn't have wanted to stay there but an overnight or something, or, but some of the parks are pretty just a parking lot, and a lot of them were just 30 amp.
Yeah, and if you're wanting to, when you get down south, like in Homer, there's what's called the Homer Spit, and so you're just like right on the water. I mean, if you're wanting to get a spot like right on the water in that park, then you're probably going to have to book it out. Mm-hmm. We didn't, and so we weren't right on the water. But we didn't. I don't know that we ever had a situation where we didn't know where we were going to stay because something was booked up. I mean, we
weren't there for the campground. So,
well,
you're not there for that.
No. Yeah, and I would think in Alaska especially, I mean, you're not going to spend a lot of time in the campgrounds.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot to see and do. Was there one place you spent the longest period of time?
Fairbanks was the longest, and that was strictly logistical to make the midnight sun, and the couple we were traveling with had a work deadline, and we knew we'd have internet safe there, so we stayed a little bit longer there just for personal things we had to accomplish, not for the area. Matter of fact, I didn't like it being our first town because it's very just like a regular place you'd see in anywhere. There wasn't,
Yeah,
but it was for work
didn't feel
reasons. We hung
Alaska.
out there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Y'all,
Cool.
this has been awesome.
Yeah.
You offered tons of tips and good suggestions for folks.
And let's check the tally. Look, Tammy had more tips than Eric. But good job, both of you. Thank you so much.
Alaska's spectacular. I would encourage anybody to go and take as much time as you can. You won't have enough time to see it all. So as much time as you can spend, you need to just take it as the trip of a lifetime and just go for it.
So y'all did June to Labor Day, but if somebody really wanted to see Northern Lights, then they might think about doing like July, August into September is what I'm hearing.
Yes, I think it's September-ish is when you're gonna, start. The days are gonna get to where you can see them. The cool thing about going in May and early June is what Eric was talking about, the Fields Parkway. Like we saw Lake Louise, which is it's in Banff, I think. It's gorgeous. It was frozen when we were there though, so we got to see a lot more snow and winter scenery in May. It'd be kind of cool to do the ice fields now in August or September because we've never seen everything thawed. It was just so much snow and ice.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, taking that into consideration as well.
And Tammy, would you say your final tip might be that if you're coming out of Canada for Labor Day, that you stop at the Gorge?
Yes, I would definitely recommend that. That was what we did. We came out, and it was an epic way to end an Alaskan summer.
For those that don't know, tell us a little bit about what happens at the Gorge on Labor Day.
Dave Matthews Band plays there every year for Labor Day weekend, and it is just this. The Gorge is in Washington, and it's phenomenal all on its own, but there's just these huge fields, and most people are tenting. We were like one of the only motorhomes on site. It was great, and then it's just a 3-day concert. He plays all 3 nights.
Oh,
and
wow.
It is phenomenal. An outdoor theater, and you meet so many cool. We had RVers we knew were there that we were like, what? Didn't know you were a Dave fan. So it was a great way to end our summer. For sure.
And then the mad dash across.
Remember, back to work.
All the way to Pennsylvania.
The Tuesday after Labor Day, did we have 5 or 4? Anyway, I drove the length of the United States from west to east in, I think, 4.5 days. So it was like some
after a 3-day weekend. A 3-day weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
That was, you know what I mean?
Tammy was passed out on the couch.
Yeah, and you're like, I've just got to keep going. Yeah. You might have some sort of award for that there, Eric. Yes, absolutely.
Well, Eric, Tammy, thank you so much for joining us again. Really do appreciate it.
Always like talking to you guys.
Great seeing you, and thanks for the tips. And can't wait to see you guys back on the road and hang out.
I know, we'll have to do this again in person sometime. What's up with all this video, right?
It's the only time I see you. Exactly. All right. Y'all take care.
Thanks. Y'all too.
Bye. That was great. Thanks, Eric and Tammy. Appreciate you being here. They are awesome. What are they? They're our first time
returning guests.
Returning guests.
Yes. So that was the first time we've had returning guests, which we've said now probably 3 times.
But that's right. You can't say it enough about Eric and Tammy. Wonderful.
But we love Eric and Tammy. We met them years ago at RV Summit, and they're just such fun people. Yeah. You can tell they're just fun people. Plus, Eric gives you a hard time.
Well, Eric's an Alabama fan, but we overlook that.
Barry's an LSU fan, so which you get to be the reigning champions this year,
right.
Don't you?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Have they announced they're not playing? I don't know.
At any rate, I'm
not
following.
So great tips. If you have additional tips, please
put them in the comments.
Yeah, put them in the comments.
We love to get some comments on the videos.
We'll post some information in the notes about some of the tips that they've given us, website or two, and but if you have additional information, please share that with the group.
Please do. And also, what should you tell people to do?
Oh, yes. Okay, a couple things. Like this video.
Please.
Comment on this video.
Please.
And share this with your friends.
Please.
Hit subscribe and hit that little bell up there because it's really fun. You hit that little bell.
You get reminders.
And then you get reminders that we have gone on YouTube. So thanks for being part of the community.
for the show that we hope to be bringing you, which we don't know the topic of yet, you get a reminder to let you know that we're on YouTube.
That's right.
And hopefully next week we can be live and get to actually chat with everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
All those recording things kind of fun.
Is it? Okay.
I don't know. We'll see Tuesday night if we're having fun.
Yes.
Chatting with people.
And y'all let us know what you think.
That's right.
In the chat. Sometimes I think with our schedules, it might be that we have to do some recording, but we would be on at the 7 o'clock to chat with you guys. And then that way we can actually participate more in the chat. So there's some balance there. We'll find some ways to kind of balance it, do a little bit of both or something.
That's right.
Anyway, we're working on it and would love your feedback. So let us know what you think.
That's right. All right.
Anything else? Oh,
I think that's
outro.
It. The outro. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Tami and Eric have provided us with some cool photos from their trip. So the outro is some of their photos. So stick around. Yeah, of Alaska. So stick around and enjoy those. And thanks for being part of this show. And until we can see you live and in person, we hope to see you in the virtual campground.
Yep. Hope you see you around the campfire. Bye.
Bye.